It's Thursday, December 4th, 2025. It's the 338th day of the year, and we've got a winter triple threat locking in right now. Slick black ice from Tennessee into Virginia, sudden whiteout snow squalls ripping across the northeast, and a brutal shot of cold Arctic air coming, and we've just got to dive right into this. Starting with today into tonight, we are tracking a sneaky and dangerous developing winter system that's kind of come out of nowhere. Not necessarily, but this isn't something that we were really tracking 7 days ago, and every day the threat has become a little bit more persistent. We've got a slight risk of minor impacts from winter weather in the Cumberland Plateau area of Tennessee over through Virginia, even up there towards the Washington, D.C. area. We are going to be having some impacts from winter weather tonight into tomorrow, especially right there around Richmond. Once again, we've got a slight risk in place, and just yesterday there was maybe a marginal risk here. Things have definitely developed over the past little bit. And once again, I want to hone in on the primary concern area, which is the Cumberland Plateau in Tennessee, and that's going to stretch northeast into central Virginia, Maryland, and the District of Columbia. Let's check this out on radar and what it could look like as we go forward. As early as 3 p.m. today, we could be talking about a heavy burst of snow in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Now, I think that the HRRR might be a little bullish on how far south the snow goes and also how much moisture is available with this storm. But if this is correct, then by 3 p.m. today, we are going to have some real heavy snow, at least for a brief period of time in Jonesboro. Then over to Dyersburg, a mix of rain and snow could hit Memphis. By 7 p.m., we could be having flakes flying in Nashville and Clarksville, Tennessee at 8 p.m. In Clarksville, I think that you guys are actually a shoe-in for a decent period of heavy snow. I don't think that accumulations are going to be very much here, but it's going to fall, and it's going to look like a good winter thumping for a brief period of time as this comes through. Same could be said over there in Bowling Green, Somerset, London, even up here in my neck of the woods, Pikeville, Kentucky, Prestonsburg. I think that we actually have a decent chance of seeing maybe a couple of inches by the time this is all said and done. This is going to be moderate to heavy snow in the Daniel Boone National Forest by 11 p.m. tonight. Then we start to see that transition happening over here north of Knoxville, especially around Morristown up to Kingsport, Tennessee, Bristol, Virginia. I think that we have some heavy mixed precipitation, maybe freezing rain and sleet, and then also snow. And this is going to lead to some pretty significant travel impacts as we go into the early morning hours tomorrow. So here we are at 3 a.m. Heavy snow is likely in Roanoke over to Richmond. Moderate to heavy snow, I should say. Things are just going to get plumb wild out there if you're trying to travel on Interstate 81, 64, or really if you're trying to go across the Appalachian Mountains from Johnson City all the way up towards the panhandle of West Virginia here. That's going to be a mess. The timing here is immediate. The wintry mix is developing this evening and continuing overnight, and it's impacting the Friday morning commute before temperatures warm above freezing Friday afternoon. We're going to have rapidly cooling air at the surface, and that's going to undercut the warm air that's coming up from the Gulf that's allowing all this moisture to be here. This is a classic wintry mix and snow system for this area, and sometimes these can be surprising. Sometimes these can, like out of nowhere in a random spot, dump 6 inches of snow. I don't think that's going to happen with this one, but we definitely don't want to let our guard down just because we only expect a couple of inches in most areas. I definitely would be paying attention to this, and I'd be very careful tomorrow on my drive to work or wherever it is that I'm going. Now, once again, I think the HRRR here is a little bullish with the amount of snow for a lot of these places and also how far south it goes, but the latest HRRR model shows a swath of 2 inches potentially along I-40 from Jackson all the way up to Nashville. It wouldn't be surprising to me if this actually happened. However, if that heavier swath of snow is a little bit farther north, like up here towards Clarksville, that would also make a lot of sense. Bowling Green, I think you are good for at least a ½ inch to 1 inch of snow, 1 to 2 inches in Somerset, London. And I do think over here in my neck of the woods in Pikeville, Kentucky, we could see 2 inches of snow. But your best bet for seeing snow, even in the valleys, is going to be in southern West Virginia and western portions of Virginia, where Beckley could see 2-3 inches. I think that over here between Lebanon and Bristol, we could see 3, maybe 4 inches. And then, of course, in the higher elevations, there will be some places that see more than 6 inches of snow, maybe even 8 inches of snow way, way up. But then, once again, outside of the mountains, a general 2 to 3 inches of snow will be possible from Lynchburg over to Richmond. This will be the sweet spot for all snow. I don't think we see rain mixing in much here at all, and it's just going to be a light to moderate snow for like 6-8 hours, and it's going to lay nicely. The roads will likely be treacherous at the beginning, but I think by the time we get towards noon, things will be cleared up quite easily here. And I think that your best case scenario up here towards Washington, D.C. is going to be a 1 inch, maybe 2 in a miracle scenario, because I think that there's also going to be a limiting factor as to how much moisture makes it north of the main part of the system. And the HRRR is also probably a little bullish on that. So a general 2 to 4 inches in this area, and then maybe a half inch to an inch or two in this area is what I would say. And we're about to dive so much deeper into that. But first, let's shout out today's awesome sponsor. Smalls voted #1 cat food. My wife and I had a cat named Jonesy for years, and he was really a part of the family. These days, we don't have a cat at home. But here's the thing, y'all's cats seem to love me. There's no denying it with the number of cats watching our live streams. That's why I'm excited to tell y'all about today's sponsor, Smalls. Smalls, the cat food made with real human-grade ingredients you'd actually recognize. It's protein-packed, preservative-free, and it shows up right at your front door. That's why Cats.com named Smalls their best overall cat food. Not to mention, starting with Smalls is easy. Just share some info about your cat's current diet, and Smalls is going to build a personalized sampler just for your cat. Jennifer M. said her cat gets a burst of energy after every meal and runs around the house like a maniac, which is great. The team at Smalls is so confident that your cat will love it, they'll refund you if your cat won't eat it. And for a limited time, because you're a Ryan Hall viewer, you can get 60% off your first order, plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/y'all. That's 60% off your first order plus free shipping if you go to smalls.com/y'all. There's a link in the top of the description. Go check it out, and let's get back into the forecast. I am particularly concerned with the black ice potential on untreated roads south of I-40 and into the Blue Ridge Mountains. This is going to be the first widespread winter event of the season for this area. A lot of people are going to get caught off guard. And also, just keep in mind, if you're commuting Friday morning in Nashville, Knoxville, D.C., or Richmond, or any of these areas highlighted here, assume any wet pavement is frozen and just be careful out there. Now, let's get into the fun part and talk about this upcoming Arctic blast. And I know a lot of you guys are thinking, Ryan, we already had an Arctic blast. You're late to this. And I know we had round 1 this morning, 40 degrees below average temperatures in portions of Minnesota, life-threatening cold, honestly, that is currently propagating down into northern portions of Illinois, over into Indiana, Ohio. This will make its way over into the Northeast as we go into tomorrow morning, and this is bad. This is cold. It's going to be cold. You're going to feel it. But there's actually another burst of cold coming that's going to be just as widespread and maybe even just as intense as we go into the early part of next week. Here's what Monday morning could look like. 40 degrees below average again over here in northern portions of Illinois, Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, 30 to 40 degrees below average. This means that temperatures could be 20 degrees below zero without the wind. We're talking about 25, maybe 35 degrees below zero with the wind chill. That is life-threatening cold. And some cold temperatures are even going to make it all the way down into the deep south with this one. So what does that actually look like on the ground? Once again, we could be talking about 15 to 20 degrees below zero just as your natural surface temperature up here in Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois. But look at this, the whole state of Oklahoma on Monday morning into Tuesday morning could be below 30 degrees. We're talking about 22 in Tulsa, 25 in Oklahoma City, 26 in Little Rock. All the way down here in the central portions of Mississippi, you could be below freezing, 30 degrees, and this is going to be sticking around for quite some time. This is the pattern that we are in. At the same time, we're going to have pretty warm temperatures moving up into the southwestern portion of the United States, and this roller coaster of a jet stream is just going to continue to feed that cold air down into the central and eastern parts of the United States. So let's track this all the way through here. As we watch the snow and ice tonight in the Tennessee Valley over towards Virginia, we're also going to have some heavy rain and thunderstorms in the deep south from New Orleans over to Dothan, Alabama. This is going to be a pattern that continues for quite some time. We're going to have some off and on heavy rain showers from southeast Texas all the way up through South Carolina over the next several days. This could lead to some isolated flooding impacts, but for the most part, it's just going to be rainy. And then our next system that we're really going to be watching is coming into the Pacific Northwest over the next couple of days. This will bring rain to Seattle and Oregon, some snow to the higher elevations, especially up there in Wyoming, Idaho, Montana. And then once that low pressure system kind of sneaks its way over the Rockies, there's going to be a pretty thin band of moderate snow that makes its way into the northern plains and the upper Midwest. This could drop some light accumulation in places like South Dakota, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Iowa. It even might squeeze out some flakes in Chicago and portions of Michigan as we we go into Sunday. And then all of this energy down here we were just talking about near the Gulf is going to try to actually phase up with that. And there is a very slight chance that we get a little bit more of a significant impact from that clipper in the northeast as we go into Monday. So this is that next big Arctic blast that we're tracking here. If that can drive enough energy into this and we see some phasing into that more southern system, that could drop some significant snow potentially in the interior northeast. So right now it looks a little disconnected, but it's something that we're watching. And then beyond that, we just continue to watch our jet stream kind of buckle like this. Cold air is going to continue to pour down from Canada. We're going to continue to have these atmospheric river-like events up here for the Pacific Northwest, and that's just the pattern that we're going to be in. At some point, I do think we're going to flip, but until then, it's just clipper town, okay? We're just going to have these clippers sliding off that ridge over and over again, and this is exactly what we predicted in our winter outlook, by the way. Everything's coming together pretty much exactly like we thought it would, and at some point, one of these clippers is going to phase up with some energy over here in the Atlantic, and we're going to get a good nor'easter. I just don't know if that's happening in the near future. Here's a look at how much rain we could see in the south thanks to this system. General 2 to 4 inches of rain is going to be possible over the next 3 days from New Orleans up to Dothan. A wider swath of 1 to 2 inches is going to be felt from maybe Jackson up to Wilmington. None of this is going to be very serious. It's going to fall gradually, and I don't see any major flooding problems out of this, but there will be a couple of pockets where we get some flooding, so make sure you're ready for that. Otherwise, just get ready for the rain. Bring the umbrella. You know what I'm saying? And then here's that CPC graphic talking about what we just talked about. We've got a major roller coaster of a jet stream here, much colder than average temperatures in the east, much warmer than average temperatures in the west. This is the pattern that we're locked in at least through 10 days from now. What happens after that, we don't know. But whenever we do get a pattern flip, it's going to be significant. All of this warm air is likely going to try to propagate over the Rockies and then try to settle into the east. And then we're going to have another replacement air mass from Canada that's going to try to settle into the west, and that transition is going to lead to some big storms. Until then, it's just Clipper Town. All right, we're just talking about moderate snowmakers moving over the north, going into the northeast, and maybe phasing up with some energy over the Atlantic, but we don't know. That's pretty much it. That's what we've got to talk about over the next 10 days or so. And that's pretty much all the weather talk I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you slap a like on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.